you're in turbulence and you better attach your seatbelts, right? And you better grab something that's solid, because everything that's not solid, the value of it will go to zero pretty faster than you can think, right? But look, we're screwed. Inflation, as Sin says, it's a mathematical certainty. What does that mean? That means we have to be in Bitcoin, right? We have to be in Bitcoin. I just don't see any alternative right now other than to be close to fully invested, whatever that means for you in Bitcoin. I just think people are ignoring the magnitude of what the tsunami that is about to hit in the next 5 to 10 years.
It's not a matter of if, but when a collapse is coming. That is a mathematical certainty. This is the latest message out from Fred Krueger, a renowned investor and mathematician. Despite not wanting to sound like an alarmist, after going over the charts and data, Krueger believes investors are completely ignorant to the magnitude of how bad the situation has become. The collapse will be far worse than anyone expects. Why is a collapse certain? Because of the inevitable demise of the dollar is near. Governments and central banks around the world are stuck between a rock and a hard place. They are forced to print more money to service their out-of-control debt, which is also causing out-of-control inflation. Modern monetary theory has led every central bank to the same dead end. No matter what move they make, it's a lose-lose situation. In his latest video update, Krueger believes there's only one thing investors can do to protect themselves and their future: purchase hard assets that are scarce and desirable. The apex investment amongst them? Bitcoin. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video as Fred Krueger breaks down why collapse is inevitable within 5 to 10 years. Also guys, if you enjoy finance content, consider subscribing to the channel or liking the video. It's free and you can always change your mind. Now here's Fred Krueger with his latest predictions.
This better form of money that was invented by Satoshi, do we think that that's going to dominate? And in my opinion, it's very simple. It's like this inflation stuff is going to it might get better. It might get better over the next year, maybe 2 years, but it's ultimately going to get much worse. And, you know, Bitcoin is not pricing today's inflation or tomorrow's inflation. It's pricing long-term inflation. The problem is, even if inflation is good for the next 2 years, it's very unlikely that it's going to be good for the next decade. The reality is your money doesn't buy you. Your money buys you somewhere between 25% and let's call it 40% of its value as it used to before the pandemic. That's just a fact. And if we start pushing money printing to the next level, your money's going to be worth half as much as it is in 5 years. It will be worth in 2 decades. It'll be worth 10%. The problem is, you know, you're in turbulence and you better attach your seatbelts, right? And you better grab something that's solid, because everything that's not solid, the value of it will go to zero pretty faster than you can think, right? And if you're dealing with government paper that's paying you 5%, 6% interest, it just doesn't matter to me what these people say about liquidity, about, you know, these contraptions like BTFD and stuff. They just don't matter, because ultimately the government is absolutely going to debase your currency, and you can hold anything you want, but you cannot hold government currency. It just will not work right now. It's not a valid way to hold your money. Now you could debate whether stocks is an okay way. I actually don't think it's going to. I think it's a very substandard way of holding your money right now. I don't see anything that has the long-term, anywhere near the long-term track record of Bitcoin right now. I just think people are ignoring the magnitude of what the tsunami that is about to hit in the next 5 to 10 years. And I don't want to sound like Peter Schiff or an alarmist, but I actually think I think this is going to get far worse than anybody thinks. We're screwed. Inflation, as Sin says, it's a mathematical certainty. So I think we got to look at, what does that mean? That means we have to be in Bitcoin, right? We have to be in Bitcoin. If you want to be in gold, fine, be in gold. Probably not as a good place to be as Bitcoin. We know that the power law that we all track and love for Bitcoin, it also applies for Bitcoin versus gold, right? So Bitcoin's eating gold's lunch. And so, if you want to have some in gold, that's okay. You probably are going to do okay relative to purchasing power of everything else. So it's not the worst, but probably going to underperform Bitcoin. Will we have pullbacks? Yeah, we're going to have some pretty nasty pullbacks. We're definitely not seeing the end of kind of these pullbacks. I personally think we're going to go higher before we pull back the next. I think we're kind of at the level for now of this particular pullback, but do I know for sure? No, I don't know. Do I care? Not really, because I just don't see any alternative right now other than to be close to fully invested, whatever that means for you in Bitcoin. I think you got to be pretty close to fully invested here. Do I think that we could be down 20% in a month? Very easily. It's very possible, right? But you can't optimize for that, and you can't try to trade around that. You can't be too cute. None of that stuff's going to work. The only thing you can do is hodl. And so, that's not kind of what these crypto people want to hear, because they kind of all want to hear, how they're going to revolutionize this or that, or, how to tie into banking or something. But it's really not. It's not about tying into banking or or tokenization of real world assets. It really isn't about that. It's really about finding a real alternative to this fiat mess that we're in, which is going to be really scary. It's just, you can't underestimate how serious and scary this stuff is. And I think if you were scared out of your mind with COVID, be prepared to be even more scared out of your mind in the next couple of years, because I just feel like the wheels have come off this engine. The wheels are coming off. Hold on to Bitcoin for dear life, because that might be all you have. You might lose everything else. You might lose your house. You might lose your job. You might have nothing else other than your Bitcoin, right? That's kind of where I think you have to kind of have that mindset. And I as much as people think we're back to business as normal, we're not business as normal. Bidenomics has not worked. We're definitely in a sort of a false economy, false narrative of everything's great, right? I know you're going to hear a lot of that on TV. The economy's great, everything's great, but it's only great because we're pushing the gas pedal at full speed, and we're pushing the gas pedal right in the middle of a major recovery, and so. We're headed for the wall. I don't know whether the wall is going to be a crash, or is it just going to be things go up. I think things go up in terms of prices. That's kind of my expectation. I think they're going to talk about this stuff. They're going to explain it away. They're going to come up with some other stats saying that it's not a problem. But I think it's at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, really, who do you believe? Do you believe in the code that tells you 21 million? Or do you believe what this nonsense that these politicians are telling you? In some ways, I think you have to kind of embrace it, because that's what gives you Bitcoin, right? That's what's going to give you the asset, the Inflation Reduction Act, exactly. Crazy idea, right? Like, we're going to spend money to create the Inflation Reduction Act. No, the problem is you're spending too much money. So the solution to spending too much money is not to spend more money. That's just not the solution. And, we're just into this kind of voodoo economics and woke economics and Bidenomics and all this crazy stuff. Again, the only thing that potentially is worse than this is Trumponomics, which make actually no sense either. So, we're in this world of completely fictitious economic thought. Saifedean made some really great comments in his 3 books, which I have here, which is just to say that all of this stuff is just garbage, right? It's just like, it's a whole theory that's completely wrong. This entire theory of like Keynesian economics, money printing, controlling the money supply to somehow match GDP makes no sense. It's just it's a completely fallacious thing. It's sort of like physics under Aristotle, right? In ancient Greece, right? He had these physics ideas which were complete nonsense too. Like, an arrow goes to its target because it was destined to go to its target, but no, or things stop because they return to their fundamental position. No, if you throw a ball in space, it goes on forever. Speed does not stop. So a lot of times when they don't understand something, they come up with these theories. Then people keep on repeating the theories, and all of a sudden we're like in the Middle Ages where people are just, telling Galileo that he's a criminal for saying that the Earth is going around the sun, right? Because clearly the sun has to go around the Earth, and everything goes around us because we're the children of God. And so, I feel like we are in the 14th century, the 1400s. We're in the 15th century. We are the Galileos, right? The Bitcoiners, and we're sitting there going, wait, what if we had the finite currency? That would be a good thing. We like that idea. And everybody's saying, no, you can't do that. That won't work. We need credit. We need this. Honestly, they're wrong. I'm 100% sure that they're wrong. And I'm sure that, everybody who's embracing this new world, fundamentally, you understand that we need money that you can't screw around with and you can't print. And that's why we are in it. I think, obviously, we'd love to see, our percentage be worth more, right? We're not completely in it for just the religion of Bitcoin, but I do think we all have somewhat of a view that this world that we grew up in, that we didn't create, that we just inherited, and this fiat world needs to stop. It needs to end. And it's not going to end politically. It's not going to end by electing somebody and by appointing some new head of the Federal Reserve. That's just not going to be how it ends. The only way it ends is if we just sort of say, you know what, we're going to save in Bitcoin. We're going to save in Bitcoin, and we're going to, when we like to do transact and we want to transact, we will potentially transact in Bitcoin too, right? But basically, we're going to personally adopt a Bitcoin standard. And once you personally adopt a Bitcoin standard, as more and more people personally do that, it's uncontrollable. Nobody can stop us from doing that. And so, is that going to be optimal for you over the next 3 months, 6 months? I don't know. It may not. It doesn't matter. But like, you're not going to escape this wave of debasement and inflation by just kind of hiring a professional money manager, getting somebody at Morgan Stanley to manage your money, doing what everybody else is doing, which is investing in bonds and the S&P 500. That stuff's not going to work, and you're gonna end up going into the dust heap like everybody else in these things. And most people are going to be wrong. 99% of this world does not own any Bitcoin right now. 99% does not. Maybe it's 98. Maybe 2% have some form of Bitcoin. But generally speaking, most people do not own Bitcoin. Most people don't think this is significant, including the richest people in the world, including Warren Buffett. including Bill Gates, including, Jamie Dimon, right? They are not buying into this. They didn't buy into it. You can make fun of Peter Schiff all you want, but the ones who count are the guys who actually have all the money right now, like Warren Buffett. And they're not Bitcoiners. Bill Gates, not a Bitcoiner. So I think we're going to see a changing of the guard here. I think it's going to happen over the next 10 years. For the most part, it's going to happen over the next 10 years. 10 years from now, I do think we're going to be at $1 million Bitcoin. I do think that this is going to be, I still think people will think it's a Ponzi scheme and everything, but I do think it's more or less going to be accepted that this is now.
So there's Fred Krueger urging everyone to realize the true power of Bitcoin as a hedge against all economic struggle. He argues that traditional assets such as stocks and bonds are not adequately equipped to cope with inflation's cyclical effects. This makes them risky investments in times of uncertainty. Fred's warning in this video is ultimately a call for individuals to reconsider their investment strategies and take into account the longer-term implications of economic developments. All of that said, Krueger sees Bitcoin as a truly wonderful store of value that can protect your wealth in the face of rising prices and currency depreciation. Before we go, a quick reminder for those who are keen on staying updated in the fast-paced world of crypto and Bitcoin, consider subscribing to our daily 5-minute crypto newsletter. It's a concise resource for the latest expert predictions, breaking news, and top on-chain analysis trusted by over 60,000 subscribers for insightful crypto investment information. Click the first link in the description to join our community and elevate your crypto investment knowledge today. Anyway guys, hope you all enjoyed today's video and that provided you with some value. I'll see you all in the next one, and as always, all the best.